This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Markfort. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. Pleasure to have everybody along for the ride tonight. Looks like everything is working good on the stream. Had a weird blip there at the beginning. I really got nervous.
I could tell.
Monday we were in the middle of the show, and one of the cameras went down in the middle of the show, and the whole streamer froze.
Oh.
So it was still sending all the signal out to the internet, but it wouldn't let me change any of the cameras. So I had to adjust the camera, and everybody got to watch this happen with a profile because I couldn't go to any of the. I got nervous, like I don't want to relive this, but at least at that point we knew what the workaround was.
That's the challenge of being the host and producer at the same time.
It is. It's one of the blessings and the curse at the same time. But good episode on deck tonight. We've got Ron Dean joining us here in studio to talk a little bit about the 2017 season where he came away with the Empire Dragway Grand Championship, and also for the third time walked away with the championship in the bike and sled division. So that's pretty cool. And, of course, you already heard the velvety soft voice of one Jason Oldfield, who made the drive in as well. So it's a full house, and it's been a while since we've had any guests up here.
It has been a while since we've had a guest. I'm really glad that Ron was able to make it in, because it's nice to have guests in the studio, and I think, honestly, it's a better show just because we do have somebody here and you can have some face-to-face banter.
It is nice, and I want to say that he cleared out his busy social calendar to make time for us, but he said he had nothing better going on. So I suppose it was a fair alternative, I guess.
I think the choice was between here and Taco Bell.
I don't know about Taco Bell.
But, yeah, I'm glad you were able to make it out, Ron. We talked about, potentially getting you out here I guess a month ago now, when we were out at the Finger Lakes Speed World show. We talked there, and we kind of got it tentatively on the schedule, and it seemed to thankfully worked out. Everyone's schedule worked out, and here you are. So,
yep, it actually worked out pretty good since, not saying anything good about the snow that's happening, but it's haven't got to work on the sled tonight, so haven't got to worry about working on being there this weekend.
So let's assume, I guess, for a moment that opening weekend was going to be this weekend, like it was originally scheduled for test and tune, at least. Would you have been out there testing and tuning this weekend?
Yes, I would have. I would have been there either Saturday or Sunday, or both. New track, new motor to break in, and
new motor to break in too.
Well, I just freshened it up.
Oh, so. Well, yeah, that's still something. So I would say, at this point, has Empire, there's a bunch of work to do at Empire still. They still have to grind the track. Right. So I think I heard from Pat Budd earlier, they said something like they were thinking about maybe Friday they might be coming out, but who knows at this point. The weather has really put crimp in everybody's plans this year. I saw the Cayuga, they've pushed back their opening. Lancaster's pushed back their opening. For God's sakes, it was snowing on the way here when I was driving here tonight.
Yeah, it was snowing pretty heavy out, actually. So.
Yeah, you'd never know that it was April 17th or whatever the heck it is.
April 19th. Nope, not at all. So, they're doing an amazing job at Empire. And
have you seen the new pavement?
No, I have not.
All right, I haven't seen it either. I know at times people will make trips there over the wintertime just to see improvements and stuff like that. So I think they're just waiting on the grinding. Then after the grinding, I don't know what happens after that.
I'm sure there's a lot of track prep to have to go into that.
Yeah, I'm guessing was it Empire? Did Empire... No, I guess it wasn't Empire. I guess it was one of the live streams I was watching. They were asking guys to leave their slicks behind so they could use them to drag the track with. But yeah, my guess is that Empire is probably going to need to do the same thing.
I think Empire was... I think they're asking for everybody who has them to, so going to have extras to.
I was saying, how about old sled tracks? Would that work?
Probably not. I think there's a couple more, probably another year for somebody else to use my sled track yet. So,
I would say, how long does a sled track work?
This is my third year on that track, or I ran it for 3 seasons. I could probably get another 1 or 2 out of it, but it was just starting to get a little. Something was getting inconsistent somewhere, so I think it's time to trade. So,
try to change it, yeah. So now, how long have you been running the sleds overall, I guess, on asphalt?
This will be my 10th season.
Wow.
So
Now, they've been around. I mean, you and I were talking kind of before the show. I mean, sleds on asphalt, people still do a double take when they see it for the first time. They're like, wow, was that a snowmobile that just drove by me? They still seem odd. There's not a ton of them, but they've been racing on asphalt pretty much at tracks across the country for quite a while now.
Yeah, I remember at Spencer Speedway, they I think probably in the mid 80s.
Okay.
I remember seeing them down
really?
there. So, yeah.
Oh, that was very, very early then.
It was very long ago, yeah. So,
but you didn't get into it at that point in time.
No, I never got into it then.
So were you always a sledder?
Always a sledder, yes.
All right, but just stuck to trail riding and...
Trail riding. I used to race watercross professionally before.
professionally even?
Yes.
I would say you and I talked about that a little bit. So how do you get into watercrossing a snowmobile? What kind of crazy idea, I guess, overall comes across your mind that you're like, hey, you know what, I want to race this on the water?
Well, friends of mine, they came over. I have a pond outside my house, and friends of mine came over, and they goes, hey, we want to use your pond. They go, I don't care what you do. Just don't ruin my grass, I told them. So I saw that, and I go, well, I got to go up and see this stuff. So
did they bring their sleds over specifically for that?
They brought their sleds over. There had to be about 50 people. The police showed up at the end of the road, 'cause my pond goes right up to the end of the road.
Okay.
The police showed up, and they were holding traffic back just to make sure. There wasn't that much traffic on Old Country Road.
Okay.
But just no people, and they were just sitting there watching, and people brought barbecue grills out back, and I go, well, I guess I got to go up to this place called Flat Rock and go see what this place is about. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So how long did you hold events at your house?
We just did that one. That wasn't even.
So why just that one? I mean, I can think of a bunch of reasons why it would just be one, but why just one?
Yeah, well, like the police showing up, right?
No, they were cool about it. They just wanted to see what was going on.
Right.
People were more happy just to see things going on in the neighborhood. But my pond is like about 300 feet long. So, and guys were making it halfway across, and then a couple guys started to make it across. Then we get to Flat Rock, and it's like 700 feet across. It's like, my pond is not big enough.
Now, was this early on in watercross racing?
This is in 1992. And watercross has been going on since 1978, 77.
Oh, okay. So it's been going for quite a while at this point. I mean, back when I had a sled, I mean, we were talking again before the show a little bit that, I had experienced riding a sled across water, but never as a race or competitively. It was just, oh, crud, the lake isn't frozen in this portion, so floor it and skid across and you're done.
Yep.
But yeah, I didn't realize that they actually did watercross racing, and even to the point where you could do it professionally.
Well, professionally is like you get paid for running classes, right, races and stuff like we do now in Asheville. Sure. So, but like New Hampshire has a huge race out there. There's like 30,000 spectators in Epping, New Hampshire. Okay. Flat Rock draws. They have 3 races a year and have a points races every year, and there's another EWA race or EWA circuit that's an Eastern Watercross Circuit, and then out west IWA is big. They got the big Grantsburg. They have the World Championship out there. And
now, is this all timed, or is it 2 guys at a time drag race style?
This is four guys at a time drag racing, and then oval classes are running between 4 and 6 people.
You heard that, oval classes.
Yes.
Oval classes. They also do have a jump class.
A jump class?
Jump water ski jumps. And that's usually, at Flat Rock, it's usually who can go over the most jumps at once, or not at once, but they keep continuously hitting that jump until they sink, or the last man standing almost. So.
I would have to assume that the possibility of sinking goes up exponentially once you start jumping the sled.
Oh, absolutely. You spend a lot of time at the bottom, no matter what you do. So,
I actually have to say I would like to see that. I have never witnessed such a thing.
I'll be going back up in July again. So if you want to come on up. So we always have a good time.
Now,
it just seems that the sleds are so vulnerable to damage. If they get sucking water into the intake is going to screw up everything internally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just okay. So we're just assuming that's going to happen. Okay,
right. Stuff happens. If it goes down running, it's going to bend. It's going to do some damage. But as long as you kill that motor before it goes down, you're pretty much safe.
All right.
And Ron was saying before that, and I'm sure it's kind of like drag racing as well, that it seems like you have forever when you're actually going down the track to judge the finish line, even though it's only, a second, let's call it. But yeah, you had mentioned that, you have a few seconds when you know that the sled's going down to be able to kill the sled.
Yep.
And, you said multiple times, you use the phrase, you have plenty of time. Now, it doesn't seem like you'd have plenty of time by the time you figure out, all right, Jesus, thing's going down and I got to bail off.
Oh, you know what's going on. The front end will start picking up and the back end will drop, and all of a sudden it just slowly sinks.
Hit the kill switch.
I guess. Just trying to get my head around all of it. It's just so cool. So does anybody drag water skiers around?
Up in Canada, they were doing that. Yep.
Canada's a little different about everything anyway.
Oh, they definitely are. Have you raced up at Cayuga?
Yes, I actually have.
Okay, I was saying.
Was it Cayuga or is it Shannonville? Actually, not Cayuga.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would say because I don't know. I have not been there, so I don't know how they are there. But I know at Cayuga and Grand Bend, the fans are just incredible. They are up there and they're having a really, really good time. So, yeah, I could see them dragging water skiers around on the lake.
I was looking at Shannonville. I raced asphalt up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are. That's some track. I didn't think that thing was ever going to come around. The first time I went down that track and goes, "This quarter mile?" Goes, "Yeah." I lay down quarter mile and I'm having a hard time stopping. I see the grass coming up fast. Goes, "You crazy American?" Why the hell didn't you tell me it's 8th mile?
Oh, so
I asked them if it was quarter or 8. They said quarter. It's like, okay, so I made it this day on it.
Well, there's certainly a good way to crash. Stay in the throttle on an 8th mile track for a quarter mile.
What's a quarter mile for streetcars, but not for pro or super pro?
Oh, okay. So you've been on. So you started with the sled doing water crosses and grass drags. I'm assuming too.
Never did grass.
Really?
Nope. No, never got into grass drags. No.
Why? I guess why the distinction between?
Yeah, that almost defies. That's a head scratcher. I mean, because there's so many different options in terms of racing those sleds.
I guess I just like to be different. That's
interesting.
Yeah, I'm really surprised at that. So how did you eventually get involved in asphalt drags then?
Well, Jack Legore was a friend of mine, and he used to race asphalt.
With a sled?
Yes, with a sled, yep. And he's always trying to talk me into him. Jim Schmidt used to be involved with that, and they always tried to get me to come. So it's like, oh, okay, Jack goes, yeah, why don't you come up to one of the shootouts there at Empire? So showed up, he goes, there, you're driving. It's like, okay. Goes, they had the test and tune there, so just warm-ups before the bike sled shootout. So, okay, I'm just running as much as I can, trying to figure out this light system and stuff. And I think I went 3 rounds that day. So,
and you were hooked?
Yeah, I was hooked. I had to, because why don't you come drive, you can drive my sled. No, I'll build my own. So I would like to do my own stuff.
So, and up to that point in time, have you ever been down a drag strip previously in anything?
Nope, other than in the pit vehicle with my dad. That was it. So.
Okay. So was your dad just a drag racing fan, or?
My dad was an official at Spencer Speedway.
Oh, no kidding.
But mostly for stock cars. But every once in a while, when he used to work the drags, I used to go there. And then, I don't know if you remember Spencer Speedway, they used to have that old truck that used to sit on the starting line.
I've seen pictures of it.
Dad used to put me in the truck.
Okay.
He used to sit there and watch in the truck. So.
And you grew up, I'm assuming that you grew up out in the Williamson?
Grew up in Williamson, yep.
Okay.
So and I could always hear the track Fridays and Saturdays.
And go ahead, Chris.
Well, that drag strip's closed now.
Yes.
Sort of, they closed with sort of an indefinite end.
Well, yeah, I was saying you and I think we're going to the same place. So, I mean, you being out there, you probably have your pulse on what's going on with that property better than anybody.
I think they're still running on Friday nights on Circle Track. So
yeah, the oval track's still open.
Yeah.
The oval track's running a reduced schedule this year. It's I would hate to say the schedule and be wrong, but they're running a reduced schedule this year at the oval track. But I haven't heard anything on the drag strip.
I heard the drag strip. I heard they would have lost their sanction if they didn't run last year. At least one NHRA race, they lost NHRA.
Yes, I had heard that also. I don't know how true that is, but yes, I had heard the same thing.
I heard,
so did they run
Nope.
They didn't run once last year.
They did not. Not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't know that track ever opened.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was
either.
early in the season when we were putting the stuff together for the newspaper. It was early in the season because we were doing this. It was early on that we knew that was off the table.
Yeah.
So I think Chucky White was taking it, and he was trying to run that himself, or him and a few of his friends and stuff. And
there's been a lot of people that have tried to make a go on that drag strip, and for some reason it had struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just such a shame. I mean, it's been, I don't know how many years in operation that track as a drag strip was, but I mean, a long time, long time. And it's just such a shame to have it out there not being used.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there the last 10, 15 years, so I can't say. But I mean, I always got the impression that it was fairly well attended.
Yeah, there was always a lot of cars there. So
There's 2 updates that were made on the Spencer Speedway drag racing page.
No kidding.
November the 13th, 2016 for the champions, and then a note that was added that there would be no racing in 2017. And that's the last time there was any updates on
So
the
that's
drag
probably not a
racing
good
page.
sign.
No.
So they haven't had bikes and sleds there in a long time.
Oh, they didn't race bikes and sleds?
They used to years ago.
And then they stopped.
Then they stopped. The town had some noise constraint or something. I'm not sure how that was
okay.
working. So
Now at Empire, so you've been bike and sled champion 3 times at Empire.
yes. Yep.
And they've, up until 2018, they've always run bikes and sleds together?
Yes.
Okay. I think at Lancaster, well, actually, I know at Lancaster used to have a separate sled class. I don't know if they still do or not.
I think they're all the same. They're all bike and sled.
Bike
now.
and sled together,
Yep.
yeah. So it's been bikes and sleds since you've been running. Now, new for 2018 is going to be everyone mixed in, right?
We're running no box.
You're running no box, okay.
Yes. Yep.
Now, being grand champion, you probably, well, because you were bike and sled champion 3 out of the last, 6 years?
6 years, yeah. 2011, 12, and 17.
So you've at least raced a car at least 3 times.
I raced them a few times. So, yeah.
So you might have an advantage over some of your competitors, I guess, then from that standpoint.
Well, it depends on whether they went for the 8th mile Sundays, because I think the bikes and sleds were all mixed in no box.
Okay.
On the Sunday, the no box
okay.
box class. Yep.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Now, have you gone other places and just run bracket races where you've been mixed in with everybody?
Up in Shannonville, I was up mixed
Okay.
in. And once in a while at ESTA, when they had some special event for like breast cancer, I used to get into that race up there, and that was everybody gets in together. You're running dragsters, it didn't matter. So
I would say the big dollar bracket races. I mean, I'm assuming that if you wanted to go run a big dollar bracket race, you could.
Yep, the big one they have at ESTA, I could run that, but you'd be mixed in. I think they were doing box, no box, and then they'd mix you in afterwards.
What is that like to sit on the line? I mean, you're sitting on the line paired up next to any different combination of car, and you're sitting there on a sled.
The first time I had the first time shootout was 2011. Jeffrey Griffo was the grand champion. I lined up against him first, and I'm watching him next to me, and we both had almost like 10 seconds. We were right pretty close, and so then looking next to me, I see that whole truck come up out of the air, and I'm going, oh my god! That was next to me. So,
It's a little different atmosphere.
that is.
I mean, that just blows my mind. It's one thing to be racing against the bikes, but you've got full-fended cars and stuff next to you.
Cars aren't too bad. My sled's usually pretty close with them. So,
I'm not talking about the an advantage being one way or another. It's just if something goes wrong, they've got a car and you've got your leathers.
Yes.
I have to say,
I'm hoping to be quicker than them, so I can stay behind them and see what's going on.
yeah, I have to say that it seems to me that I've heard more of the car guys complain about being mixed in than I've heard the bike and sled guys complain about being mixed in. And I don't know if that's the car guys' fear of, I don't want to squish somebody, or, I think overall, most racers out there realize that, you can race whatever you want. It doesn't matter if it's a bike, a sled, a dragster, or a door car. I mean, if you can hit the tree, run your number, you can generally be competitive.
Yes.
But there definitely seems like just again from the car standpoint, there's more concern of safety for the bikes and sleds than from the bike and sled guys about being running against a full size car. Have you seen one way or the other? Where do the bike and sled guys really care?
Me personally, I don't know. A lot of the guys like to run the cars, so
yeah.
But I don't know. Me personally, I'm just going to run my own race. That's
right.
That's all I'm thinking. Safety wise, well, anything can happen out there. So
sure.
That's whether I'm running a bike, a sled, or what. So or a car. No.
I'm assuming that you've never had a close call with a car.
No, I have not.
Actually, if you probably have had a close call with a car, it was probably when you're riding just on the trail someplace, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sleds coming at you at trailhead speed, up on Tug Hill especially. It's sometimes a little scary.
I know we were up in Canada, and again, we were talking a little bit before the show when I had my sled a bazillion years ago. I was doing some trail riding. We were up on a lake, and we had a long procession of guys, probably 20, 25 guys, and somebody's sled died, and it was in the middle of the night, so it's dark, pitch black. So one of the guys decides he does the right thing. He turns his sled around so there's a light so that someone doesn't crash into the back of him.
Oh, yeah.
But we're wide open. I'm at the end of the line here, and we're wide open and going across this lake, and all of a sudden now I see a headlight. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm wide open going this way. He's wide open coming this way. Wow, I got to get out of the way. So I made a quick veer one way or the other, and that was like one of the only times I ever dumped the sled. And come to find out later that he wasn't moving; he was just sitting there. But never. I never had any sort of incident on the track when I drag raced the sled or anything like that. The only place I got in trouble was when I was trail riding,
using it the way it was supposed to be used.
Using it the way it was originally intended, at least. But yeah, leave it to guys that like the adrenaline rush to find other ways to use their sleds, be it grass or water or whatever. And interestingly enough, I was really surprised to hear you say this. So you'd never gone down the track in a car or at all prior to doing the sleds. And to this day, you've never competitively made a pass in a car on a drag strip.
Nope, never have.
Which that is just really, it's just amazing to me, coming from the background that I have, that a car guy, you would think as a teenager that you would have gone down the track as a teenager, but
no, I think Dad would have found out and probably would
have put an end to that pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
So and you and I just again kind of quickly talked about it as to whether or not you had any interest in doing a car. And you said you did have a mild interest in it. Would you? Just try your street car to start, type of thing.
I've thought about it. Yeah. You never know. You never know what I'm going to do.
I would say you could.
It was very tempting when they were paying $1,000 to at Spencer Speedway at one time for that no box.
Well, I was going to say, at Lancaster, I heard that Lancaster...
I saw that, too. They're paying $1,000 every week, is it? Or, no, it was just that one time.
I think it's just the one
September
time.
September 7th or 6th or something like that.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's like $1,000 to win the street. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see Ron going down the track that weekend.
Take the cruise or the truck or something. You never know.
Now, the sled that you have now, so this started off as, I'm assuming, as most guys that I know that have raced sleds on asphalt start them off as trail sleds, and then in the summertime they convert them to a drag sled, and then in the wintertime they convert them back again. So I'm assuming that's how this sled started?
This sled ended up being, I bought it as a crash. It was a wreck. At Ingalls Performance, they sponsored me yet, but I bought it there as a wreck. It's actually a 600, and then I bought another frame off of eBay from a guy in Rome, and then just started piecing parts together, and made one sled out of two.
Is this the sled that's won all 3 championships?
This is a sled, yes.
It's won all 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no reason to convert it back.
No.
Yeah,
no,
and,
it just runs.
Yeah, and Ron did say pre-show that, this one now is a purpose-built drag racing tool that no longer gets used for the trail. He has his specific trail sleds.
Yep.
Why do it that way? Why did you build why did you take a wreck and then get a frame and do all of that rather than just, find yourself a used sled and converted to asphalt?
Well, I was looking for used sleds, but then they wanted an arm and a leg for the triples. The triples were still high dollar back then. So.
Yeah.
And anything I was looking at, I was looking for either a 600 or an 800 or something. But I specifically wanted a triple, and I wanted a Ski-Doo. So.
And you wanted a triple specifically just because of the power that it makes?
The power. It's got long legs on the top end of it.
Okay.
And it does, that triple and that 600 would run pretty good. It run almost 12 seconds. I got it clutched down to about 11 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I bought an 800 for it and wanted to go a little fast, stay with everybody else. Everybody else was running like 10s and stuff. And
right.
So I wanted to at least stay with everybody. So I bought an 800 and built that and put that in there. And that's the motor that's in there now. So
I would say and again, this was back in the 90s, the first time that I had seen it done. And the very first time that I saw a sled go down the track, I was just flabbergasted. Because here was this guy that had a $6,000, let's call it, trail sled. Went out there, lined up, and went down the 8th mile in 6.3 seconds. I mean, my Corvette at the time, that's pretty much all my Corvette could run. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I'm like, they just took this stock sled and went as fast as my race car? That's incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing I will say, that people that have never ridden a sled, they just don't realize how fast they are. I mean, they're pretty amazing.
Because that motor is pretty much stock. It's I got a set of pipes on it going into a stock can because I got sick of hearing the noise. My hearing is just got so bad from watercross. It's like, so I put a stock can and it adds another 10, 15 pounds onto it, but it's quiet. So.
Now, I'd seen guys in the past do it. Do you get into the running water through it, the cool system between rounds? You do all that?
Yes. I built my own system for a lot of guys run regular water out of it, but I built my own system so it's all fully enclosed.
Okay.
So it runs through a car radiator, and then it can cool the sled down in about 10 minutes.
And is that just because of the fact that without the sled moving, it doesn't have the cooling capability? There's no fan or anything else
There's
on it?
no fan or anything on it. It's still got the heat exchangers in the back for the snow to go up on it to cool it down.
Okay. So I didn't realize that's how. So they rely really on the snow to help cool them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't do that, if you didn't have the cooling system, how long would it take the thing to cool back down again?
Probably take a good hour.
Okay, so you're getting into later rounds, or you gotta
hustle pretty good. So,
and is it just water that you use?
Yes.
I guess you have to, right? I mean, because that's track regulations.
What else were you going to use? Did you just cycle coolant through it?
Yeah, well, you're not allowed to. Antifreeze, but you're not allowed to use that on the track.
Right.
Yeah, and I was originally thinking that maybe you were using some other type of coolant, but you can't.
Do you leave a volume? We were surprised when we talked about last time with Kathy. We talked about having the block dry. Do you have water in it at all when it goes out onto the track?
Yes,
there is.
Yeah, the full cooling system is in it.
Could you run it without?
I don't think so. It wouldn't if I wanted to get towed back. But I drive it.
Okay.
I drive
because you're broken?
Well, a lot of the guys, I don't bump any compression in it. I run 91 octane fuel because most of the time I don't have anybody with me to tow me back like a lot of guys do. And the higher speed sleds, they can't drive them back.
Yeah.
A lot of guys just run a closed loop and they won't even have the heat exchangers in it because that adds weight. So.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
So they're cutting everything out of it.
Yeah, and I will say that it's funny, the compromises that you make, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have to think about those things when you're racing. I remember, and I think I may have told this story previously to Chris. I don't know if I did it on the air, but pulled into Englishtown one time and pulled up. We got pitted in the alcohol pits, and this guy thought it was absolutely out of my mind to do what I was doing and spending the money that I was doing to race super gas. He's like, you need to sell all that stuff and buy yourself an alcohol dragster. He's like, it's not that much more money and you could be very competitive and you could, run match races and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, that'll work great when I pull into the track by myself. Let me put the starter on the blown engine and start it and then hop in and buckle myself in. And I couldn't back up. And so, that type of racing is not possible without having help there. So like yourself, if you wanted to go faster, you could,
Yeah.
But now you're reliant upon somebody to go out there to the track with you every single weekend, and it's hard to do. It's hard to find someone to be passionate enough to say, all right, yeah, I'm going to put aside every single weekend to go to the races with Ron, right?
Right.
So now what's the fastest sled that's out there at Empire racing now, I guess?
At Empire...
Is there anybody going in the 8s?
Not in a couple years.
Okay.
So there has been. But now at ESTA, my friend Dennis there, his sled will run 870s, and his wife's sled runs in 830s. So 830s, 840s, depending on how much nitrous they put to it. And so.
And that was a question I was going to ask too. Did you ever dabbled with nitrous or turbo or anything on the sleds? Had you ever seen any of that, Chris?
I've seen it for recreational riding.
Trail sleds, yeah.
I mean, and I never really fully understood why you need that for a trail sled, but I've come across it in some travels, and I don't know how I feel about it then, and I certainly don't know how I feel about it on the strip. The speeds that you're talking about are just crazy.
Well,
you're going so fast with nothing around you.
I doubly don't get it for trail riding, honestly.
Yeah.
Mountain sleds. I never realized why they needed that turbos or nitrous and stuff, but when you go out west, you're just climbing so fast up some of the mountains. The sled just runs. You can still keep climbing. You still feel like you got traction, but the sled just runs out of power because you're climbing so fast and just loses that much power.
Right.
And they hit that little button, and all of a sudden you got that.
You got it back.
You got enough to go back up again.
I guess that
the elevation's a killer. So.
That makes sense out there.
Yeah.
Right.
running around the trails between Seneca Lake and Lake Ontario. I don't know why we would need it, but
yeah, no, through the woods and stuff like that. I mean, you can't.
But I mean, Jason, you were just talking a second ago how somebody's saying you should get an alcohol dragster or something so you can do all these different combinations of races and stuff like that. You can spend $6,000 and theoretically go almost as fast.
Oh, it's
on a sled.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
Like I said, my friend Dennis, he he bracket races at 870s, and he's dialing in 870s, and he's deadly. So.
Yeah. Now, have you ever for the motor that you have? Are you building your motors yourself?
Yes. Yep.
Have you always done that since the days, I guess, back when you were
Watercross? Used to go to crank shop, so they let them do it. They know what they get, the pipes, everything, and everything's all mismatched. Don't have to guess with horsepower. You pretty much know what you got.
Okay.
And it's going to last together. So
yeah. So do you think it's I mean, if someone was going to get into racing, I mean, is a sled if they're somewhat mechanically inclined and had some experience with the sled, is the sled a reasonable thing for anybody to get on and go give it a try?
I think so. When I built my sled, I built it as a budget sled that I just want to go out and race.
Yeah.
I didn't care about how fast I was going to go. I just want to. It's bracket racing. You don't have to.
Right.
So, and as long as you keep that mindset, okay, you can make it go fast. I can probably make my sled into the 8s again, but the sled right now is just deadly. So the sled runs. It needs a driver half the time, but it's deadly.
Well, I guess I don't know about that. I mean, we are talking to the grand champion and bike and sled champion 3 out of 5 for 6 years. But
they had a good night. So
but, right. But yeah, and I have to say, I don't really know when I had my trail sled. I mean, I never really messed around with it much from a mechanical standpoint, so I don't really know a heck of a lot about them. Even when I raced them on the asphalt, I was primarily racing somebody else's, or somebody was setting a sled up for me, so I don't really know a heck of a lot about them mechanically. So yeah, they're kind of a mystery to me. It's like
pretty much once you get it set up, it stays. I don't change jets. I think I had last year's spark plugs in it yet. I never even.
So when you rebuilt the motor this year, did you hone it?
No, it's Nickel cylinders, so you just want to scratch them up. I put a new set of pistons. The rings were starting to go bad in it.
Yeah.
Pistons, if I could get rings for them, that motor's old enough where they don't make the rings anymore. But I can buy pistons and rings. So.
Oh, okay.
So threw the new set in, and it's the way to go. Just check the crank bearings and stuff, make sure it's okay, and simple things like it's.
So, how long do you think before the pistons and rings are no longer available?
I don't know. So.
Well, why? I guess why? I mean, that was a 600. You said.
This is an 800 in there.
It's an 800 that's in there now.
Yeah. They quit making that motor, I think, in 2003.
Now, is that just the Ski-Doo that stopped making 800s, or everybody stopped making 800s?
No, they quit making 800 triples. Ski-Doo did.
Oh, okay.
So I can get aftermarket pistons like Weisskos and stuff, and not very big fan of Weissko, but that's...
if you had your hand forced, you would do that. So I guess and this is kind of getting off the drag racing thing. So I guess from a sled standpoint, what's popular now? Because I have to say that back when I was trail riding, I mean, it was the 440s, the 600s, and 800s, and that was pretty much it.
I personally ride a 600, so a 600 E-Tech.
Is that
It's a Ski-Doo 600 E-Tech. It's it's a rider forward sled, so it's almost like you're riding a four-wheeler now.
Okay.
So compared to where you used to sit back on it and take all the bumps, now you're like sitting there in your fulcrum riding it. So.
Okay. And the E-Tech, is that a?
It's a direct injected motor.
It's not a rotary motor. It's
not a rotary.
It's still
motor.
Individual cylinders.
Individual cylinder. Well, I think this one is still. The 600 is still individual cylinders.
Okay.
The new 850s are monoblocks, so they got two cylinders together.
Oh.
Yeah.
Geez, man, technology is really.
But stock sleds, you're getting 160 horse out of them now.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to ask. I was curious if you had your motor ever dynoed.
I had my asphalt sled dynoed. So.
And how much power does your asphalt sled make?
When I first pull was 183 horse.
Which is a lot. I remember
stock motor, I was very impressed. Stock motor with just pipes and.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I remember Rob. I mean, again, this is going back 25 plus years ago. But Rob Shooping, he was kind of really heavy into that and the grass drags and everything else. And at the time, and I don't know if it's still the case, but he was getting like 225, 230 horsepower out of a motor, and was like, and that was a ton.
Yeah.
Now today, I mean, there's probably guys out there that are making 300 plus, but
yeah. Now the turbos and the four-stroke turbos, they were turning over 700 horse.
Oh my God!
So
what?
Well, that one sled was running. That was at Empire. That was Boyd McCreary. He was running 460s, 470s in the 8th.
I did not see that.
Yeah. 469, 470. I think he did out in Michigan.
Oh my God!
You said that you've got stock exhaust on yours, or it's
stock can on mine. I got
okay.
Pipes. I just bought them cheap. This has been a budget sled. So.
Well, that's one of the things that I was wondering about is what did that change? I mean, what power did that take away? You've added the weight, but is the dyno going to represent that added weight in that
the dyno didn't
equation? Is it going to show any difference?
I did not try. I probably should have brought another set of pipes with me, but I didn't. I just we actually just brought my sled up to we built a watercross sled, or helping a friend of mine. He built that, and we had it on the dyno, and I just brought my asphalt sled along just to see. Okay, let's see where it is.
Right.
Just while we're there in Batavia, let's just bring it there and see what it does. So
the power to weight ratio on the sled is pretty crazy. I mean, it's a much different number than when you're talking about the power in something like your Corvette, which is running equivalent speed. So I mean, imagine when you start putting some of these, how much power you gain and how fast you gain it when you start adding some of these hop-ups on it.
I'm just numbers. I'm in awe at 700 horsepower. That is absolutely insane. Because now you start talking about power to weight ratio. It's like, oh my God.
That's what I've been hearing, the 700 horse. So I don't know how well they last very well, but
even if it was 500,
it's fine. I wouldn't even worry about it.
That is so much power in such a little package. That's crazy.
My sled with me on it out in Michigan last year, I think it was 620 pounds. So.
You're talking about that much power and all that added stuff underneath the hood. What risks are tied to catastrophic failures? I mean, when your dragster and a motor comes apart, or you're in your door car and the motor comes apart, it's all contained. But I mean, you're basically sitting on top of it, and some of these guys are running. It's a plastic hood there. There's not anything crazy keeping those pieces. They start coming out from getting up into you.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of motors coming apart. I've never really seen too much damage. Now
that's good.
Clutching wise, our clutches are fully enclosed there because that's the biggest thing that might come apart because that's centrifugal force there. You're running 8,000-9,000 RPMs.
Sure.
So do they make aftermarket bell housings or something like that for them, essentially, to enclose them? Or
Yeah, mine's fully enclosed. I put a steel plate underneath it for NHRA. I went with my NHRA rules. Cause
okay.
Like going to Estate, they're very strict there.
Okay.
So if I go with their rules, I can run anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get like an 1/8 of an inch plate underneath the whole clutch.
Yep.
And then over top of it, there's an 1/8 of an inch aluminum over top of that.
Okay.
So it's almost fully enclosed.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, what about, from an oil containment standpoint? Do you have to run any sort of...
My sled has no oil in it. I run a gas oil mixture. So the oil that's in it is my chain case.
So, I mean, I will say that, we don't have to run anything on transmissions or rear ends, so I would assume that nobody cares about running some type of oil containment device on that. So that's interesting. So you don't have to run any sort of diaper or anything like that on it then?
No.
Have you ever had any sort of catastrophic failure where everything came out the bottom?
Nope, not down the track.
Not on the track again.
In the trail, on the pond, in the grass.
I think I've had one motor come apart on me once and on the water. But
yeah.
Used to blow a lot of pistons on the water, but didn't know what I was doing, so I was leaning them out just a little. Lean is mean, so
right.
Trying to make it that way.
It's really incredible. Again, I'm still just in awe of the power. Do you have any desire to ever, I guess, go that fast on the sled?
Not really. So,
I built this
with a purpose. I love to go fast, but
every day. At risk of sounding dumb, because you've pieced all these different parts of a sled and the technology's been there just like everything else in racing. You don't have to mix the stuff ahead of time with your injection system. You just put the oil in, you put the fuel in, and it mixes it on your own. And
I cut that injection system out and I mix everything.
You do mix everything.
I mix everything my own at 50 to 1.
Do you change that given what the conditions are?
No,
that
stays a constant.
Interesting.
Yep.
Same same ratio as the chainsaw.
Pretty much, yeah. In fact, I used to just run the generator on that. Used to have a 2-stroke generator. The racetrack used to pour the fuel. It's 91 octane.
Right. Now, would you see a distinct, if you went from 91 octane to you ran racing fuel, would you see a distinct difference in...
It would probably slow it down so it's not bumping the compression.
Okay.
I had a guy that I knew who really liked the smell of race fuel.
Yeah.
So he mixed race fuel with Castrol synthetic and used that in his chainsaw. And it slowed it down to the point where it seized up and became a paperweight.
Yeah.
Just not that I'm an engineer or anything, just...
Yeah, I will say that they do tell you, don't run this in your lawnmower, generator, all the rest of it. But
it does smell good, though.
Oh yeah. And I bet you'd be very hard pressed to find a generator out at the drag strip that hasn't had racing fuel run through it at some point in time.
Our lawnmowers at home, you can usually tell by the white exhaust on coming out.
Right.
I like to put a little bit extra oil in my lawnmower that's not 2-stroke to help control the mosquitoes.
There you go.
The neighbors hate it, but...
Just run it long enough without oil, you won't have to worry about it.
Or mowing the lawn.
Right. Now, when you're storing the sled for the winter, is there anything... do you fog it like...
Just like normal.
Okay. That's interesting. It's funny just because of the fact that... how many guys, I guess, right now that have that drag race sleds are only using them like yourself, during the summertime as a prepared tool? Almost everybody that I always knew always used them as much of the year as they possibly could.
Yeah, some guys, they'll switch them over. Like I said, I go back to Esta because there's a lot of sled guys there, but they'll convert them over for ice because they live right on the lake and everything.
Sure, yeah.
Some do like me and just leave them like that. So. And
do you have no interest in racing in the wintertime? Or?
It's cold.
Yeah, and I get that.
Even though warm sitting out on the pavement out there, but
right.
Sitting on the ice there's no place really to get warm.
Right. Well, yeah, you got to basically have the sled running all the time and use the feet warmers and the hand warmers, right, as the source of heat.
You have to hook them back up again.
So now, 2000...
We just got a message real quick from a first-time listener. His
Really?
name's Chris, yeah. He's tuning in, and he's interested in the conversation. He's from the Midwest. He's big into all different types of racing, circle track, dirt track, asphalt, drag racing, and he came across the show and was tuning in and thought it was cool. And good. Hopefully he learned something about snowmobiles.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we're sort of geeking out over snowmobiles because this is something that's completely foreign to me. I mean, I know nothing about snowmobiles, let alone racing them. And then we start delving into all the stuff. Well, it's just basically a stock motor, and I bought a wrecked sled and built one and won 3 championships with it. You don't get that story a lot.
No, you don't.
In racing, not snowmobiles, in racing.
Right. Yeah, you really don't, and I have to say that this is really foreign to me as well. And again, I have drag race snowmobiles, but I don't really know a heck of a lot about this. So yeah, I mean, this is really all new to us. And I don't know, what episode are we on now, Chris?
This is episode 38.
So 38 shows it took us to get a guy on that doesn't race something with 4 wheels.
Well, it's got 4 wheels.
Well, I guess that's true. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we even had a motorcycle person on prior, have we? I'm trying to think.
I don't remember having a motorcycle guy on.
Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, no. Hopefully we're not hurting somebody's feelings, but I don't remember having anybody racing a motorcycle. So, well, that's cool. I'm glad that Chris tuned in and is finding the show entertaining.
Chris is right now in the busy in the throes also of talking with his some of his other buddies in Mega Power Explode.
Ah, okay.
Oh boy.
well, that's cool. But so 2011 was the first year you won the championship, that was just a bike and sled championship.
That was a bike and sled champion. Yeah.
Now, at Empire, so for the people that aren't, completely familiar with Empire, so all the 4 class champions then run off for the overall grand championship.
That's correct. Yep.
And what is the extra spoils that the grand champion goes home with compared to the individual class champions? I know you get a nice jacket.
I got a nice jacket. Yep. My pit spot's paid for.
Okay.
Jerry threw me an extra $1,000 on top of that, and
so I mean,
suppose I got exit gate privileges, which I'm not really sure. I think I can go in through the back gate or something when I'm coming in.
So that's pretty nice. I mean, especially an extra $1,000.
And I got the used trophy. So
right, that's right. Yeah, and that is very cool too.
Yep.
So the first year that you were champ, you started racing in 09?
09, yes.
So it only took 2 years for you to win the bike and sled championship. Mm-hmm. That probably didn't go over very well.
Well, I don't know. Everybody
seemed pretty nice.
Yeah, everybody.
Champions make enemies, no matter how long it takes to do it right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody I see there, everybody's been great. So
that's one of the things.
Empire's an awesome track. So.
That is one thing that has prevailed in the drag racing side of things in our travels. Is I found that they are a really good group of people as a whole in the pits and willing to work with each other for the most part. And comparing that to some of the other forms of racing that have been around, the worst group, more often than not, is the Demolition Derby crew. They do not get along with each other. At least the factions don't. They have their little stables and their cliques and stuff. Dirt track racing, street stocks seem to be more friendly. The further up you get on the chain of command, it turns a corner until you get to like 360 sprint cars, and then there's no home track for 360s, so they all travel together and they spend all their time together. So they all get along really well. And in drag racing, it seems, especially on the local level, there's a lot of camaraderie. And
I will say I've heard some
exchange.
pretty nasty stories for the circle track guys too, as far as how cutthroat they are to one another. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you generally don't see that with the drag racing guys. But I have to say that Empire is still a special place because there are some tracks where if you're not a regular, you're really treated like an outsider, and that's a shame. I mean, there's tracks that I've gone to all over where you're openly welcomed and people are really friendly, but there are places that will shun you essentially if you're not one of the regulars. But Empire's not like that.
No,
I mean, if you had 2 years in at that point, you're pretty much baptized as a regular, right?
Yeah, pretty much so.
Yeah, especially if you're in the points. I mean, you're committed to going out there 25 weeks of the year. So I think
that year I won points with 13 points. It would rain so much that year. It wasn't that much. In the second place, I think it was 12.
That's a narrow win, but man, that's
So now that year, when you ran for the Grand Championship, you obviously didn't make it. How far did you make it in the runoff?
I lost the first round.
First round, okay. Yep. So second time around.
Second time, I got Mike Buhan, actually. So, and we both had identical dials and or both. Identical
reaction times.
Reaction times. So we both had 5:07s actually. So it was like there, but my sled just sat. I didn't know my sled well enough, and it just sat there and cooked. Well, he's taking off in 13 seconds or 14 seconds.
Right.
My sled's taking off in like 11. So I sat there and slowed down. So all of a sudden, I hear him ripping me. It's like, okay, we're done.
So finally, third time's the charm.
Third time's a charm.
And you said you had Sierra
John
Jr.
Sierra first. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so was he racing the truck?
No, he was racing his dad's car. The
Nova.
The Rock and Roll Express. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Which I'm surprised. John is. It's really good. I know John watches the show occasionally. It's amazing to me how good John is. He was good in that. I don't know if it was. I think it was a Camaro. I don't think it was a Trans Am. I think it was a Camaro. But he was good in that Camaro. Then immediately hopped in his dad's car and was immediately good in that. He really is quite talented. So you had him first round, and what happened there?
I just remember coming almost to the finish line, and he's ripping me. It's like, okay, what's going on here? It's like, well, I just passed him. So
right.
And I think we both broke out, but I broke out by 0.001 less than him. So
now, do you find it what trips the beams on the sleds? Is it the front of the skis?
The skis, yes.
All right, so the skis trip it. Mm-hmm. Do you find it because you're out in open air like that and low to the ground and really so compact that it's easy to judge the finish line, I guess, against cars?
I'm not really sure against the cars. I think I might be harder for them to see because I don't have a headlight in the front.
That I could definitely see. Yeah. That I could definitely see. And were you racing at night when you were racing?
I think it was like 10:30 at night. Yeah. So.
And let me guess, your sled is black and you're wearing black leathers.
Yeah, it's purple, black leathers, black helmet. Yeah.
Okay, so you're using every advantage that you possibly can.
Not that I thought about it before, but yeah, I guess so.
Right. But yeah, I could definitely see that being more difficult for the cars to see the sleds. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm just thinking from a distance standpoint.
Not if they're out in front.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
But being out in open air, I could definitely see not having it. It would seem like it'd be easier to judge the finish line. I've only raced against sleds, so I don't know what it's like to try and judge a car. But I would think you'd have a really good vantage point.
I know the dragsters. I've raced them against once, and they come up so they're almost like running a bike. Like some of the guys running a bike, they're running 8-second bikes, and you're looking back. Okay, I got this. Also, it's like, I'm looking at the stripe. Come on, I let off. It's like, it's done. So
now that's one thing I will say that with the sleds, my recollection was that when you let off on the sled, they really slowed down pretty quickly.
Not really. It depends on how you have it clutched.
Okay.
My sled doesn't. It'll sit there and coast almost all the way to the end. So
oh, really?
Pretty close. I got to get on it a little bit, but I would not try to, even 8th mile, I would not try to make that 8th mile turn off.
Oh.
So I don't like to hit the brakes that hard.
Yeah.
So, some guys do, but that's...
I wouldn't have guessed that it coasted that well.
I wouldn't have either.
You've got such a large contact patch of the rubber in the back that it wouldn't seem that it would want to coast at all.
I got to give it a little bit of gas. At Lancaster, I had to hit the brakes hard to get done at the end.
Huh.
And even Esta, after a quarter mile, but it's only got a quarter mile shutdown. I'm on the brakes pretty good at the end. So.
Funny story. I have to tell you, sometime when me and Billy Lieber went trail riding with Rob Shuping, and my sled had no skags, and his sled had no brakes. So the two of us out there, we were like the Crash Brothers. It was basically every corner, one of the two of us was going off because I couldn't steer and he couldn't stop.
You guys get along. It's not like a demolition derby guys.
That's right. So. That was a fun weekend. But Yeah, I guess, like I said, my recollection was that when I raced was that, and again, maybe it's just the way the stock clutch was, is that, you let off and it wanted to pitch you off the front of the sled because it slowed down so fast. But clearly that's not the case with yours.
No.
Is there a special drag racing? Maybe we already hit on this and I missed it, but is there a special drag racing belt that you have to put on that?
Track, you mean?
The track, yeah. I mean,
yes, Camoplast makes it slick. Yeah.
Of course they do.
Yeah, they make everything. But
have they always made the slick tracks?
Since I've been, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would say I have to ask John McGowan. John McGowan got involved in this when they first started doing it around here. So he was buying tracks. I don't know who it was, but now you are doing full water burnout with them.
Yes.
And I know that I've watched. I don't believe that when we were racing the sleds that we were doing water burnouts. I think we were just doing
the dry hops. Yeah. Some people do, some people don't. I use it to clean out my motor. So it more or less it's warmed up. I try to bring it up to the same temperature every time I leave the line and stuff, and sometimes it gets loaded up for me driving from the pits around all the way to.
So you actually have a temperature gauge on the sled too.
Yes.
And was that an aftermarket?
Yeah, I put an aftermarket.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, you're doing basically the same thing that we're doing with the cars, right? Yeah, you want to make sure that when you're pulling up the lights, it's the same.
Yeah, you try to. It's somewhere in there. So
interesting. I say you're not trying to give away all your secrets here, right? And from a leaving the line standpoint, it's just push the throttle and go.
Yep, push it and go.
Okay. Can you? I would think you could institute a line lock.
I've heard of people doing it. I'm not sure. I haven't tried to figure that out yet. So I've been hitting O lights with it. So it's the O's, the O30s. So
I guess one down. I mean, if you're getting good lights, one downside, obviously, if you went to a line lock, now they're going to make you run box class.
No, I don't think a line lock is considered box.
Okay.
I think Pro can run. I think Pro can run a line lock.
I guess that makes sense. If you had a manually shifted car, you'd have to run a line lock.
I know the motorcycles can. So from years ago.
So they're running line locks on the.
Well, they're not running. They're running two steps.
Oh, right.
So two steps are sliding clutches.
Right, and they still allow them to run in no box with a two step.
Yes. Well, now they can. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So I mean, typical reaction time. I mean, are you generally, like any other competitive guy out there, reaction time wise with the sleds? I mean, you, let's call it 0 to 50 basically on the tree.
Try to. Yep.
And when you're hitting the tree, is it when you see the last yellow?
Yes.
So it pulls the skis. I'm trying to think of the word here because I want to say tires, no. Wheels, no. So it pulls the skis out of the beams.
I try to keep it so it doesn't. So it actually, I've had my girlfriend actually took pictures of the sled one time. She was going to get the video.
Yeah.
And it ended up keeping every step. The step, took a picture of it every step.
Oh, okay.
I was able to watch it. I was able to watch the red and the yellow. The sled started moving on the yellow, and I was surprised. I didn't think it would ever.
It would even react that quick.
But it did, and it actually come out, and it just happens to have a long enough ski, and it stayed into it that much longer till the green came on. So until it broke that second beam, which I'm not sure how would a car leave? Does a car actually come off of? Do you have to come off the bottom yellow, or do you usually? Well, I know you probably go off the top bottom.
I mean, for me, I'm leaving off the top bulb, but typically I'm letting go of the button off the top bulb, but then I'm running 1.1 seconds of delay. Yeah. So I mean, really, it would be see the bottom bulb and leave, and that's, especially when you're not on a trans brake. I would think almost anybody running a trans brake would have to have a delay box because it would just react too quickly. But the foot brake guys, I mean, those guys can generally, just chip the engine up and down a little bit to basically adjust their reaction time and essentially see that last yellow and leave. Now, granted, that's a hard thing to do. I don't think those guys get enough credit on how hard it is to leave on a full tree without a delay box. In my mind, delay box racing's easy. I mean, I'm waiting. I'm watching for a flash of light, and when I see a flash of light, I'm just reacting as quickly as I can. You can't do that on a full tree. I mean, you really have to concentrate. And I remember running the full tree with the sled. I mean, it was always hard trying to pick where you were going to leave. It's like, all right, do I try and again, this was very early on, do you leave anticipating the second bulb when you fully see the second bulb? You don't want to get stuck between, the second and third bulb, because now you don't know what the heck you're doing from one run to the next. So yeah, that's a hard thing to do, be able to race like that. But you got the sled set up so that you hit it and hit that thumb throttle and away you go.
See, I don't know any better. Never been in a car, don't know. So
right, there's no bad habits there. There's a lot, especially if you're not running an automatic. There's a lot that you can screw up on a tree in a car.
Oh yeah.
If you're running an automatic or you're running all the line locks and stuff like that, it eliminates some of that margin for error. But you're within a couple ticks on the clock that things could still go way wrong, even though you programmed it.
Right.
Man, there's some days you think, okay, I got perfect tree. It's like, it's 100. It's like, what the hell? Where the hell did that come from? What did I do?
Now, is there anything trick that the skis have? Are they dual wheels on front and back of the skis?
I have single wheels.
Singles.
You can get the dual wheels. You can get the wider wheels, but Wall Brothers sells a wheel that seems to last. I usually get maybe 2 seasons out of them.
Okay. And short skis, right? I mean,
their regulation, I think, is supposed to be 19 inches.
Oh, I didn't realize that they had rules with
there's
regards.
A rule in IHRA and NHRA. So.
Okay. And are they just aluminum skis?
Yes.
And do you have like plates on the side of them to block them off?
Block.
I'm assuming that they're not, I'm thinking of regular ski, right? So you have a solid plate on the bottom, and then it's just a rod, essentially, that makes up the rest of the skis.
Well, these are actually like 2 aluminum plates like this.
Yep.
And then you got that, and they're actually right that long, and they're probably about this wide.
Yep.
And then you got your axles in between, and then you run like the spindle goes through. So it's actually looks like a plate already.
Okay, all right. So down the side, it's
not a flat ski. It's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an H-beam style.
Right.
But you're looking down the side profile of the ski itself. It is completely solid from one end to the other. Okay. So, basically, if you don't, let's call it, pick the front end up on the sled, if the skis are tripping the beams, then it's not going to start the clocks until you actually
leave the lake.
drive all the way through. Oh, that's interesting. It'd be cool, like you did with your girlfriend, taking those individual pictures to watch in slow motion and see what it does.
Yeah.
Be curious to see how much.
I think the way my clutching's set up, it'll sit there and drive out and then it'll start to accelerate. So.
And you said the 60 foots on those are 136?
Mine's about 136, 138, 136. I've been down as low as 134. So.
Which again is crazy. That's
my shoulders usually feel it after a weekend.
Yeah, I mean that's just as fast as my race car. I mean, really is incredible. And so 8th mile, low sixes.
Low sixes, 6:17. I've been quickest. The last night of the year, I was running 6:24.
And what kind of mile an hour is that at?
About 106, 107.
Okay, so. You're getting a lot of acceleration, but you don't get the top end speed.
Right.
And is that because of the way you got it clutched?
Yeah, clutched and geared.
Yeah.
Right. It probably almost runs out right at
the 8th mile.
A little bit past 8th mile. So you don't pick up a whole lot from 8th to quarter. If you pick up maybe 15, 18 miles an hour, you're doing good. So.
Wow.
For me. The 4 strokes, I think they got longer legs on top, and they'll pick up a lot.
Now, are there any desire or advantage, I guess, to go into a 4-stroke?
I don't see. Personally, I don't, because I don't know enough about them. So
you've been a 2-stroke guy your whole life.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 strokes are simple. Yeah.
I forget what Paul Schneider, announcer at Lancaster, used to call them. I think 1,000 bees in a bucket, something like that. The 2-stroke engines.
Yeah.
So
Those are like rotary motors like them small Mazdas have.
right. Now, I guess for 2018, so you freshened the motor for 2018, and Empire's obviously going to 8th Mile. You've already done a whole bunch of 8th Mile racing at Empire. Sounds like the sled's pretty much set up for 8th Mile. So, I mean, are you pretty jazzed about the permanent switch to 8th Mile racing?
I kind of like quarter mile myself, but now I'm going to have to learn how to drive again. So, but now it's going to be a lot quicker.
Right.
And to judge that line, it's going to be, okay, I got to start thinking now. So, where the quarter mile, you had another 4 seconds to think about it. So,
did they have any points races, 8th Mile points races last year?
not that I know of. I wasn't running Sundays there. So,
okay. Oh, that was a separate
that was just
series, right?
Right.
They
that
had
was
an
a
actual
box.
8th Mile.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe a little bit of a learning curve then for you this year.
So I kind of almost wish I raced Spencer's because that was, what, a 10th mile
That was
or
a 10th,
something?
right.
So you really had to learn how to react fast.
Right. And other than that,
Other than that, everything's going to stay the same. So,
and what have you heard, I guess, from a participation standpoint out at the track with, again, the combination of, or the integration, I should say, of the bikes and the sleds into the no-box class? I mean, do you think you're going to get the same number of guys out there? Or?
I haven't really heard anything different. So, my 8th mile, I think a lot of guys they like that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Especially like Lancaster guys might come out.
Yeah, and that's the thing I know. I know a whole bunch of guys that race at Lancaster that
They don't like quarter mile. They didn't like the back end off of Empire.
right.
What's running 8th Mile going to do in terms of, you said that you got to learn how to drive again. You're going to do a couple little things maybe different to the setup. What's that going to do to the engine program? I mean, is it going to prolong the life because you're not running as far down the track against the max?
I think it would.
Will it? We had talked about that with the cars and what difference it could make, because you might be changing how you come off the line because you're trying to get all that acceleration back, so you're beating it up on the top of the track or at the start of the track instead of at the top end. So, what does that do when you start putting all sorts of different combinations in it, like what the sled would have?
Yeah, I mean, it probably, for the race car, I'm sure it saves on valve springs some, just because you're not at high RPM for an extra 3 seconds. But, I don't know. I mean, I'm an old school guy. You'll never get me to say that racing shouldn't be quarter mile. And I'm not running a crazy combination. I mean, I guess if I was running a 470 car, I guess not, well, let's call it a top sportsman car. If I was running a top sportsman car with lots of nitrous and stuff like that, yeah, I probably wouldn't want to beat it up as much. But for a guy with a super gas car like myself, I mean, whether I'm running, let's call it 150, 200 passes, 8th mile passes or quarter mile passes, I'm changing the valve springs in the car. I mean, the extra 3 seconds that it takes me to get from the 8th mile to the quarter mile really isn't that much. I mean, I'm beating the crap out of the car in the burnout, right?
Yeah.
That's that's a lot of things that guys don't think about. They're like, oh, well, it's all that top end stuff. It's like, well, yeah, think about it. How much pounding the engine takes when you're doing a burnout. Burnouts are fun, but they're hard on the equipment.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, from that standpoint, I don't know. I don't see it as being a big deal.
So my pistons came out beautiful. They were not even scuffed or anything, and that was like almost. It was my second year on them. So.
Yeah.
So.
But you're like, the whole 2 years?
2 years, a couple championships, they look fine. Put them back in. It's just
If
crazy.
I could have gotten rings, I would have.
No, true.
Now, did you go to the bracket final? You went to the bracket finals as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a bike and sled representative specifically?
Yes, they actually had. They had a separate bike and sled class, and
Okay,
I was also running no box there too.
Oh, so you were doing both?
I was trying to do both for a while. Yeah, it got to be a little bit hairy because then I was kind of actually glad I got bumped out of Gambler's race. It was just come back to back to back to back.
Right.
So.
Now, if you were gonna run no box at the bracket finals, does that mean you have to be in the points?
I think I'm going to have to be in the points, but I think I'm going to have to run. I'd probably be running bike and sled. So.
Oh, that's
Because I still have a bike and sled class.
Yeah, because not everybody runs combined, right? Just because Empire's switching, that doesn't mean everybody else is switching too.
Just to clarify, the bike and sleds are going to have their separate points breakout, but they're running in competition against the other cars. Or is it all combined points
I think
now?
we're going to be combined points.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, but at the bracket finals, it's a separate bike and sled class.
Like
Yes.
it used to be at Empire.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
So,
with you.
but Ron's going to be running in no box all year, but when he goes to the bracket finals,
I'd be running.
now he's going to be
Bike and sled.
he's going to only be running bikes and sleds again. Which is kind of interesting, I guess. But that's assuming, I guess we're making an assumption, right, that you get invited to go to the bracket
Right,
finals.
right.
Maybe they'll be like, yeah, Ron,
one
sorry,
problem.
you suck. Stay home this year.
I'm just going to take Pat. That's it. The problem is that weekend is they moved up the weekend, so that runs the same as Michigan has their AM snow shootout that same weekend. So I'm going to be running that. So
Oh, so you're not going to the bracket finals?
I'll
this
be
year.
going. I'm not going. I went last year.
Yeah,
Only because it didn't interfere with the weekend.
right.
But running against 100 sleds in bracket class is against everybody in the country. That's you got to do that. So
That's pretty cool.
Way better.
And I have to assume that the payout's probably pretty good there.
yeah, I think last year was 1,500. A guy from Empire actually won it last year.
Oh, no kidding.
Don Becker.
Yeah.
Well, he was running. Well, he's running Lancaster too. But
Yeah.
he actually won the Saturday class, and then he won the overall.
Oh, wow. That's pretty darn cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did Empire used to pay for bike and sled winner on a weekly basis?
That was based on sled count.
Okay.
Some days it would be $60
Yeah.
or $70. Sometimes it was like $40.
So you were definitely out there
Yeah,
racing because you love to race,
Yeah, you were
not for the money that you were making.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that's got to be something that you're probably looking forward to now, right? I mean, you know that you can hold your own against the cars, so now we're going to be running for some decent money every single week.
What was it 600? I think to win here. So
I think so.
so
You got to go a few more rounds, but, you know, in the end,
Yeah.
I mean, we all like to go rounds. It's more, I mean, not only is it fun to win, but it's just fun to be able to get to race more, right? So
yeah, one round at a time. That's
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
they might actually have round money now. So
are they doing round money?
yeah, they usually do after third round. I think you have to win
okay.
third round. So
Sweet.
I was
the
saying-
bike and sleds there was never enough to win third. You know,
Right.
never enough to go.
Right.
Third round, you'd be making more than you used to win.
Does it,
Yeah.
I would say, was anything really apparent by my question there? Why doesn't Jason know if there's round money? Because Jason never goes any rounds. Jason runs with the West New York Super Rod Association, does
Jason-
all that ladder and the payout and everything else, but when he bracket races, he never goes round, so he doesn't have to worry about
I went
what the
over
payout
ahead
is.
this one. So
Yeah.
got it.
There's
Yeah.
a lot
I
of
remember
different
the-
ways you could have taken that, but
I remember the good old
That
days
works.
when I used to be a hitter in Super Pro, but yeah, not
Yeah.
anymore. It's ugly. Just really bad when I go out there now.
But you're
Sorry.
having fun.
sorry to hear that.
I still do enjoy it. Yeah, I still do enjoy it. Actually, I got put on the invite list, I guess, for the
So you enjoy what? Qualifying?
yeah.
Yeah. First round. It's always fun. First
Exactly,
round. You
yeah.
see the tree against another car. It's cool.
Yeah. No, so
Just trying to get the buy run. That's all.
That's right. If I don't, I just load up and go home. Yeah, so for the big dollar bracket races, I got put on the invite list this week for that, and I was looking at that. I'm like, I got to do that because that really looks like fun to me, and I don't do enough bracket racing. And that's the type of thing when I'm not racing and I'm not running an event for the West New York Super Rod Association. I'm just out there racing. I just find it to be a lot more fun.
Wait a second. You don't have. You still don't have a trailer, right?
No.
This is perfect. You need to get into sled racing because you could transport that around in a pickup truck.
Yeah,
I could.
you
You'd
could.
be good to go.
It might-
you don't even need a new trailer.
It might fit in my Traverse.
This is it. Well, yeah. I like the use of the word "might" there.
Might.
It might, but yeah, I think
Maybe we have to let you try out the sled sometime. So.
It's been a long, long time since I've been on a sled. Long time. It was fun. I enjoyed it when I did
It's
it.
just like getting on a bicycle again, right?
Probably. As long as the throttle's still in the same spot.
Yeah, I haven't moved that yet, so
I still have...
where would you move that to?
you never know.
I was saying, has anybody ever done anything different from a throttle standpoint that you've seen?
Put it on the floor or something?
Nope, never seen. No, I had somebody put it on the other side.
Yeah.
But-
I was curious, anybody tried to go to a motorcycle twist throttle, or
Not
if
that I know
anybody
of.
ever put a foot throttle on or anything like that?
I wouldn't see an advantage to that. So.
I wouldn't either.
A twist maybe, but that's
I always liked the thumb throttles. It wasn't until, I never had experienced one until I rode a sled for the first time. It's like, what the heck is this thing? It's like, but yeah, once you get used to it, it's like,
it's old home. Yeah, it's just...
yeah, I think they work pretty darn well. So, all right, well, how are we doing, Chris?
We're rolling. We're good. Everything's stable. People are watching. There's people asking questions about all sorts of different stuff. It's good.
Just people are interested in sleds.
Checking in.
So I think we're going to have this sounds like we're going to have Ron on more often because we we never get this kind of interaction when, or I guess it probably helps to have somebody in the studio. That's certainly
it does help.
Sure.
It absolutely helps.
People
it helps
don't
having
wanna,
somebody.
Believe it or not, people don't want to look at my ugly face every single week. And Chris is always busy being producer over there, so he doesn't put his ugly face on the camera.
I was on tonight. Like pointing so he doesn't have to look at your face, or what?
That's right.
I was on a couple times tonight. I had questions. It was a good conversation. We had a lot of people weighing in. It was nice to know ahead of time that we were going to have somebody in studio. It was nice to know ahead of time that we had somebody lined up.
Yes,
and we were able to get the information out there a couple days early, so people knew to look for it. I think it was good.
And I have to say that that is something that I do appreciate, Ron. That we obviously talked about this a month ago, and you committed to the date, and sure enough, a month later you're on the show. So do appreciate you, marketing on the calendar. And
well, you texted me the other day, and I go, man, I was hoping you almost forgot it, but.
Well, I'm for sure glad that you came in, and that's an open door by all means. Anytime you're interested in coming back, if you got a sponsor you want to come and talk about, or you had a good race someplace that you want to come and talk about that's absolutely an open door, and you should expect a couple phone calls through the summer to come back.
Oh, all right, thank you, I appreciate it. So now I'm having a good time. So
I would say most people, they are maybe a little intimidated the first time they do it, but it really is just the three of us sitting around talking about racing. It's nothing to be nervous about, right?
No, not at all.
I would say I got my hook over here on the floor, so if you screw up, I just pull you off camera. But
just wait, where's the bleep button?
There's no need for bleep buttons.
It was actually doing pretty good tonight.
Yeah, it was all right.
Now, do you have people, sponsors that help you?
Yes, I do. Ingles Performance has been a sponsor of mine from Watercross days all the way up through. Sled Freak Performer, or Sled Freak, it's a snowmobile forum that Deb has helped me out numerous times too. And
now, is it generally Western New York centric, or is it?
No, she's all over. So
okay.
She's starting to break out, going into the Midwest now.
So this is I don't know if you're familiar with Class Racer, but I guess it sounds like it's kind of the Class Racer for sleds. Basically, where all the sled racers go to.
Well, Sled Freak is mostly a snowmobile forum. So it's just a regular snowmobile, and I just happen to be the racer that wanted to race the sponsor. I put the stickers on the sled.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
High Performance Engineering's been with me for years. They're out of Michigan, or Minnesota, I think. Excuse me. So they've been helping me out with the racer program and stuff. And so
that's nice.
But Ingles has been outstanding to me. So Robin and Mike are great people. They're out of Fulton area.
And do they specialize in any one particular brand of motor, or
they are a Ski-Doo Polaris dealership, Can-Am.
Oh, okay.
They're into the new Spiders. They got a big with that. They got a really big snowmobile dealership, snowmobile trailers they sell now too and stuff. But they're very into the racing program. They do a lot of snowcross racing. They've helped me out for a lot of years.
Well, that's cool. Obviously how far from Fulton are we?
About an hour and a half, something like that. Here, hour and a half.
So certainly,
and there's a lot of performance shops up there. I think 5-Star Race Car Bodies is up there, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or one of the mod light camps where they run the small scale dirt modifieds. That's right on the main drag through downtown Fulton, and then there's a bunch of performance stuff on County Road 57, which leads to the racetrack.
Leads right? To the oval. Yeah.
They're actually out of Pennville, I think it is. It's called.
Yeah.
Yep. Right off of Route 3.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's certainly good, though, because I'm sure that for our show, most of our viewership, I would guess, probably comes from the Finger Lakes region. So certainly people that looking for whether it be a four-wheeler or a sled or something like that, should definitely head out there and take a look for sure. And obviously, racers that are watching, I mean, every single one of us has some type of pit vehicle, so
that's a good place to start.
That's a good place to start, sure.
They've got almost every part, and I throw up some weird numbers. And I build all my own stuff, and I throw out definitely some weird stuff at them. And they always seem to have it, or they can get it within a day. So
I had to say, I don't get the spiders. I don't understand them.
I'd like to try one sometime. I've never ridden one yet. So
I haven't either.
You should race it.
There have been guys out there racing down in Skyview. One guy was.
Oh, really?
Jamie Hitchcock was out racing the spider.
It's crazy.
That is definitely a weird vehicle.
Yeah, but you said it. If there's a motor and wheels on it, somebody's going to find another one to see which one's faster.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is.
And then it devolves from there.
I remember seeing a Spencer Speedway years ago. Somebody brought his three-wheeler out, or brought a moped out when their regular bike broke.
Right. Why not?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Guys will race anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. What do you think?
I think we're good.
Yeah. We sure appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us for a little while.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It was a great appearance. We certainly had a good time with it, and we will be back in 2 weeks. We'll be coming up on, I think that's going to be Mom's weekend, right?
I think you had...
Yeah, Mom's is going to be sized up for the third Mustang on Mustang Racing Series. Is going to be joining us by phone at this point, but nonetheless, be good to have them on. They changed a couple things for this year. We'll be able to introduce some of those topics as we get into that conversation. But that is going to do it for us here at the North Park Building at Academy Square. Episode number 38 is in the books. That's going to do it for the final round. We'll see everybody next time. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.